Hey, it's Schande! As you guys can see, this video is going to be a bit different than my normal videos because this not only acts as my first character stills video, it also acts as my final project for one of my classes. How's it going, Professor? So, the main focus of this video is talking about the issue with alcohol at furry conventions. For those of you who have never been to a furry convention, or for those of my classmates who may not fully know what happens at a convention, it's essentially a weekend-long get-together where people who are fans of anthropomorphic characters gather to play games, attend panels, participate in various contests, and display a bunch of artwork of various crafts. It's almost like a big party. And what do you find at a whole lot of parties? A whole lot of booze! Yes, alcohol is very prevalent in furry conventions, a lot more than you think. And to be honest, it's starting to become a pretty big issue. It seems like with every convention that happens, the problem never seems like it's gone away. It's not hard to see why either. A bunch of friends and peers who share a common interest getting together for a weekend, people are going to want to cut back and have a good time. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what happens if it goes just a tad too far? One quick note before I get started. For this project, I interviewed my friend Kyle Foxtrot. Kyle is a convention veteran, having attended well over 200 conventions in his lifetime. He's a staff member at one of the top 5 biggest conventions in the world, Texas Furry Fiesta. He's been a staff member since November of 2009, and is currently standing in their executive staff as their media liaison. This guy has seen and done it all when it comes to conventions, so I thought I'd pick his brain a bit since I myself am still relatively new to the convention scene. I'll be referring back to this interview sporadically throughout the video. There are a few things I want to touch on in this video, but the main thing I want to focus on is alcohol safety. But we'll get to that later on in the video. The first thing I want to discuss is the issue with underage drinking at conventions. Underage drinking is not uncommon in a convention setting. In the United States, the legal drinking age is 21, and it varies around the world. To be honest, underage drinking is rather easy to get away with in a convention setting. You're in a large area with little to no supervision, and you're surrounded by large groups of your peers, so it's easy to give in to peer pressure. Surely there can't be any harm in it, right? Well, unfortunately, it is still illegal, and you run the risk of getting yourself and other people in trouble if you're caught. For instance, according to attorneys Hussein and Weber, in my home state of Florida, first-time offenders can be charged with a second-degree misdemeanor, and can be fined up to $500 and spend up to 60 days in jail. Penalties for underage possession of alcohol varies from state to state, but they all stay within the same ballpark. On the flip side of that, supplying alcohol to a minor can get you in some serious trouble too, with offenders liable to be fined up to $1,000 and spend up to a year in prison. Kayo stated that he has seen a few minors get arrested because they were intoxicated and uncooperative. At the same time, he does also state that most convention staff won't report underage drinking because they don't want one stupid mistake to ruin a kid's life. I definitely respect that, but in my personal opinion, I just don't think it's worth the risk to begin with. I know it sucks having to wait, but it'll suck even more if you got yourself and your friends arrested just because you wanted to have one drink that you probably won't even like in the first place. One more thing I want to talk about before I get to the meat of this topic: room parties. Room parties are a very common thing at furry conventions, people getting together to hang out and have a good time. It happens at practically every convention. Hell, it happened at our own convention. There's certainly nothing wrong with hosting parties. Conventions are often the only times of year that people can see some of their friends. However, room parties usually comes with a whole lot of booze. When it comes to room parties, there's oftentimes very little regulation on how much alcohol is being consumed or dispensed, or who the alcohol is being given to. This greatly increases the chance of underage drinking and over-intoxication. Kyle recounted several instances of people having to be carried away from Texas Furry Fiesta in an ambulance due to heavy alcohol poisoning. Alcohol poisoning is a really stupid way to go, and honestly, completely avoidable. It's just sad to me that someone's entire convention experience or even life can be completely ruined just because they had one too many at a party. Alright, y'all have heard me ramble on about my opinions, now let's get to the main topic of this video. I'll be the first person to tell you that I hate drinking. I don't like the taste, or the feeling, or just being around alcohol in general. But just because I don't like it doesn't mean I'm against it. Drinking at a convention can be perfectly okay as long as you're doing it safely. In order to do that, there are a couple things that you should be familiar with. First, you need to know what equates to a drink. Now I know what y'all are gonna say. Shande, a drink is a beverage with alcohol in it, you idiot. To which I say,
that is not correct.
A drink doesn't mean whether or not a beverage has alcohol. It refers to how much alcohol is in the beverage. Now, the alcohol content in different types of alcoholic beverages tends to vary, so it's a little tricky to gauge how much alcohol equates to one drink. However, there is a generally accepted formula, if you will, that can help you determine how much alcohol equates to one drink. According to the ServSafe alcohol textbook, one drink equals 12 ounces of beer, which equals 5 ounces of wine, which equals 1.5 ounces of 80 proof liquor, such as vodka, which equals to 1 ounce of 100 proof liquor, such as whiskey. This means that one alcoholic beverage can have more than one drink inside it. This is very common with a lot of mixed drinks and cocktails. For example, a basic Long Island iced tea is made with a half an ounce each of vodka, triple sec, silver tequila, white rum, and gin. So even though it's only one alcoholic beverage, it contains 2.5 drinks. Mixed drinks are an easy way to get over-intoxicated, especially when it comes to punches. A lot of really strong liquors can be mixed into one batch of punch. 1 cup and you are on the floor. Speaking of that, this leads me to my next big point. Intoxication. Intoxication is determined using something called the blood alcohol content, or BAC. Your BAC is a measure of how much alcohol is in your bloodstream. For example, a BAC of 0.1 means that you have 1 drop of alcohol for every 1,000 drops of blood in your bloodstream. In the United States, you are considered legally intoxicated if you have a BAC of 0.08. The only part of your body that can break down the alcohol in your bloodstream is your liver, and it filters the blood at a constant rate of 1 drink per hour. So, the more drinks you consume within an hour, the more intoxicated you'll become, which means the more you drink in an hour, the more you put yourself at risk. As your BAC rises, you'll start to experience more severe symptoms of intoxication. According to Student Health Services, a BAC of 0.1 can cause slurred speech, impaired motor function, and impaired judgment. Crank that up to 0.2 and you'll start to experience heavy motor impairment, violent mood swings and aggression, blurred vision, blackout, and even an impaired gag reflex. This is the stage where many people will choke on their own vomit and die because their gag reflex is so impaired from intoxication. Once your BAC hits 0.3 or higher, you are in critical danger of slipping into a coma or dying from respiratory failure. It is so important to pace yourself when it comes to drinking, lest you put yourself or others in danger of injury. There are a couple notable incidents at furry conventions that led to someone getting seriously hurt. More recently, an incident occurred at Megaplex 2016, where someone that was heavily intoxicated on a mixture of alcohol and psychedelic drugs ended up falling from a 4th-story balcony, leaving him paralyzed in a portion of his body. Probably the most infamous alcohol-related accident that occurred at a convention happened at Furry Weekend Atlanta in 2007. One attendee got heavily intoxicated and ended up attempting to commit suicide by hurling himself down a concrete stairwell. The incident has since been, quote-unquote, affectionately dubbed Tumbles the Stair Dragon. Stay classy, furry fandom. Now, I know I probably made drinking sound really scary for a bit there. Just to reiterate, I'm not making this video to condemn drinking alcohol in the slightest. My goal for this video is to inform you all about the dangers of drinking too much and to offer advice on how to drink safely and responsibly. Which leads me to my next point. Here are some tips to drink safely and responsibly. Number 1. Pace yourself. As I stated earlier in the video, drinking too much too fast is a recipe for disaster. Most of the alcohol you consume will be absorbed into your bloodstream through your small intestine. So the more alcohol in your stomach at once, the more that will absorb into your bloodstream at once. And since the liver breaks down alcohol at such a slow rate, it's easy to overwhelm your body and get heavily intoxicated really quickly. On top of all that, there are several factors that can affect how quickly or slowly you get intoxicated. These factors can include body size. If you're a smaller person, you're going to get intoxicated a lot faster than someone who's a bit bigger. This is because smaller people have less blood in their body to dilute the alcohol in the bloodstream. Take a look at this chart found in the ServSafe textbook. For example, a 100-pound man will be intoxicated after only 3 drinks, while a 240-pound man takes 7 before he's intoxicated. Body mass index. A high fat content will get you intoxicated faster. Body fat doesn't absorb alcohol, so it remains in the bloodstream until it's broken down by the liver. Alcohol passes more easily through the muscle of a lean person, which allows the alcohol to spread through the body and not remain in the bloodstream. Inexperience. If you're new to drinking, then obviously your body isn't used to having alcohol in your bloodstream. This lack of immunity can cause your BAC to rise more quickly. Birth assigned gender. Gender differences can have a pretty big effect on BAC as well, as women genetically have a higher percentage of body fat and have less blood in their bodies. Sorry to all my trans friends out there, but intoxication is not your ally. Number 2. Know what you're drinking. This is very important because there's a high chance that you could receive a drink at a room party with a very high volume of alcohol. Drink strength is a very big factor in BAC. Another thing to take into consideration is carbonation. Carbonation will speed up the rate that alcohol passes through the stomach. So if you're drinking carbonated alcohol such as champagne, or drinking a beverage with a carbonated chaser like rum and coke, your BAC is liable to rise at a faster rate. Knowing exactly what and how much you're drinking will really help you avoid overintoxication. Number 3. Don't drink alone. Always have someone with you if you decide to drink. If, God forbid, something were to go wrong and you didn't have anyone to help you, you could put yourself in serious danger. Number 4. Don't mix alcohol with prescription drugs. Duh. Number 5. Don't fursuit while intoxicated. I know fursuiting is fun, but fursuiting while drunk is a really bad idea. Alcohol acts as a diuretic, which increases urine output. The more you drink, the more you urinate, which can lead to severe dehydration. And of course, we all know that fursuiting can be a one-way ticket to the dehydration station. Put them together and what do you got? Bibbidi-bobbidi death! Number 6. Have food in your stomach. This is one of the most important things you can do to prevent heavy intoxication. Having food in your stomach helps slow the passage of alcohol into your small intestine. The best kind of foods to eat prior to or while drinking are foods that are high in fat and or protein. These foods are harder to digest, which helps slow down the movement of alcohol in the body. This is why it's very common for bars to offer deep-fried foods on their menus, such as mozzarella sticks or fried pickles. It's also a common practice for bars to incentivize their patrons to eat some food to help prevent intoxication, so they may offer certain food specials, such as half-price buffalo wings. Buffalo wings. Anyway, drinking on an empty stomach is an exceedingly terrible idea, so don't be afraid to stuff your face. And finally, number 7, attend room parties with people you trust and are hosted by people you trust. Doing this will ensure that you're surrounded by people who have your best interests in mind. They will help provide a safe and friendly environment and make sure you remain healthy. Also, don't be afraid to ask someone for help if you need it. One year at FWA, my friend attended a room party and ended up having a bit too much to drink, and instead of trying to find his way back to his room by himself, he messaged me on Telegram asking if I could help him walk back to his room. I was super proud of him for doing that, and I was more than willing to help him out. I would much rather be his guide than him try to get back in his inebriated state and put himself at the risk of getting seriously hurt. Speaking of room parties, and this is the last topic I'm going to talk about, I promise. Even though room parties tend to have the reputation of being wild and crazy, there are several ways that you can host a room party responsibly and still have a good time. In my interview with Kaio, he gave his advice on how to host a safe and responsible room party. So, let's get into that, shall we? Number 1. Have a designated bartender. Having someone with control of the alcohol in the room is a great way to ensure nobody is overserved or alcohol doesn't get served to minors. Number 2. ID everybody you serve. This should be pretty obvious, but whoever the bartender or server is should make sure that the person being served is of legal age. As I mentioned earlier in the video, serving alcohol to a minor can lead to criminal prosecution, and we don't want that. Number 3. Provide food. Like I said before, drinking on an empty stomach is a really bad idea. So, if you're hosting a room party, why not order a few pizzas to provide to your guest? Pizza is actually one of the best foods to provide to people who are drinking due to its high fat content. Plus, pizza makes everything better. It's a scientific fact. Number 4. Provide water and alternative non-alcoholic drinks. Doing this will make sure that, if minors are attending the party, they'll still have beverage options. Water is also important to provide due to the diuretic effect that alcohol has on the body. According to Hydrolyte, for every drink you consume, you're likely to urinate 100 milliliters more than you drink. Having plenty of water on hand will ensure that no one gets severely dehydrated. Number 5. Don't be afraid to cut someone off. As the host of the party, you have every right to cut someone off if you feel like they've had too much to drink. If someone were to get themselves injured as a result of heavy inebriation, you could be held criminally liable for their injury because you served them to the point of intoxication. On top of that, there's something in the realm of food and beverage business called dram shop laws, which means that in certain states you could be held civilly liable for any injuries sustained by someone you served alcohol to. Please don't put yourself in that position. Avoid overpouring the drinks and try to keep track of how many drinks your guests have had. And finally, number 6, don't be afraid to call security if a situation calls for it. Belligerence is not uncommon in the world of intoxication. If someone starts to display belligerent behavior or, God forbid, violent tendencies, don't hesitate to call security. It's not worth putting yourself or other people at risk just because one person is plastered. Following some of these steps is an excellent way to host a safe room party without being a quote-unquote buzzkill. In my interview with Kaio, he told me that a lot of furs have already begun adopting some of these practices in their own room parties. That makes me really happy to hear because it means that we're already taking a step in the right direction to make parties safer at conventions. Alright, I'm finally done rambling! Woo! Anyway, alcohol will always be a part of convention culture. Always has been, always will be. There's nothing wrong with cutting back a bit at a convention and enjoying a few drinks with your friends. Just make sure that you do it safely, responsibly, and legally. If you follow some of the steps provided in this video, your next convention experience is sure to be fabulous. Thank you guys for listening to me babble. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and this final class project was an even better excuse to put it together. And to prove to y'all that this was a school project, here are all my references, in MLA format. See, I learned something in English Comp. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. A big shout out to Connor and Dexter for making all the art that you saw in this video of my character anyway. And an especially big shout out to Dexter for getting the majority of the art of this done in this style that you see here. Done within 2 days. He worked so hard to help me get this video out on time, so thank you so much. Both of the artist links are down in the description below. I highly recommend you check them out. Thank you all so much for watching. I was super excited to put out this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. To all my classmates out there, I hope you enjoyed getting your lesson from a talking fox. And to my professor, what do you think? Do I get an A? Alright, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that shit, and I'll see you next time. But until then, boop!